Hi everybody, welcome back to Rambling Rose Farmhouse. I'm Missy. I'm happy to have you here. Today I'm going to be sharing our spring garden with you. We have two gardens, a row garden and a bed garden. I'm going to show you what we have growing in both of those gardens. I'm going to show you what I have blooming in my yard. I'm going to show you what we have growing in our greenhouse. It's really new. If you have never seen it, I have a video telling you about it. We've only had it for a few months, but we have some stuff growing in there. So be sure and stay through the whole video so you can see all of those things. I'm also gonna just really quickly show you a little bit of flooding that we've had in the area because we've had so much rain here. It's been a really wet winter. It really has kept us from being able to get our garden planted, so we were late planting a lot of things. Our garden is still really wet. You'll see that when I show you the video, but I will show you how we worked around that and finally got it planted because we weren't able to use the tractor in the row garden, which is what we always do. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to share our spring gardens with you today. So my husband had to come out here by himself. I've been sick for the last couple of days. You can probably hear that in my voice, but we have some avocado trees that we've been trying to keep alive. They're young and so they can't freeze. So he had to come out here yesterday by himself and put them back into this little cage we have here. I showed y'all this in my greenhouse video, and tied them all up so that hopefully they won't freeze. And then there is a heat lamp in there to keep those warm because we're gonna have a pretty major frost. So he did all that by himself, and we probably should get something and cover up these hydrangeas too, because they probably won't do too well with the frost since they have a lot of new growth on them. So we're gonna have to see about doing that too. So this is our row garden, and we have 4 rows of potatoes planted, and you can see that they're up. We had a really hard time getting our potatoes planted this year. We were late getting them planted because of all the rain we had. We had like 4.5 inches of rain in one day, and it caused a good bit of flooding. Just made it too wet to use the tractor to plant, so we had to plant the potatoes by hand. Okay, well, tell us what the plan is. Tell us what the plan is.
Well, the plan is to try to open up a slot just to get the potatoes planted in the ground so they can start growing. And then I'll come back when it dries up enough to get the tractor in the garden, and I'll cultivate my rows down, and I will pull them back up and fertilize the sides, dress fertilizer, and hill them up. That's the plan.
And we also have the same thing with the corn. We have corn planted here. You can see it up. And you can see right now how wet the garden is. Right here, we had 3.5 inches of rain just day before yesterday. So now we're expecting this big freeze. And normally we would use the tractor to come along where these potatoes are and pull the dirt up out of the center and put on top of the plants, and that would protect them from the freeze. And then they would just keep growing and they would come back up through the dirt. But trying a new thing here, we're going to try to cover them with these leaves
and see if we can keep our potatoes from freezing this way. And so there's a whole lot of potatoes to cover. Not sure if we'll end up having enough leaves to do them all or not. So I'll have to let you know in another video whether that works or not. Last year our potatoes froze. We didn't lose all of them, but we did lose some of them. But we're hoping that we can not lose them all this year. And the corn, it's just going to be on its own. Hopefully it won't freeze. It really shouldn't at this stage, but that doesn't mean that it won't. Yeah, and it's going to be a while before our garden out here is dry enough to work with the tractor. So it's supposed to get down to 28 degrees tonight, and I think stay there for like about 5 hours, which is pretty major freeze for us at this time of the year. We always seem to get a freeze in cold weather right before Easter, so we don't plant any of our really warm weather crops like tomatoes, but of course we do plant potatoes and corn. So guess until the leaves run out, we will get those covered and see how well that works. Okay, so here's our bed garden, and I'm going to show you what we have growing in it. And so we'll start over here with the garlic. We have 2 beds of garlic, and it should not be hurt by the freeze. We don't have anything planted in here that we're really worried about. But we have garlic growing here, and then we have lettuce. We have really enjoyed having all this lettuce this year. This was a surprise to me. My husband didn't tell me he planted it, and came out one day and said, "Come look at the lettuce in the garden," and it was starting to come up. So we've been having a lot of salads, and that's been really nice. And then we have these are just clover, beds with clover. You can see a couple of random garlics that have come up in here because we had garlic planted in this bed. But we just have, there's another garlic plant right there. We just have the clover in here as a cover crop to keep the weeds out, to keep the soil moist, and also to add nutrients into the ground. And you can see we do have clover mixed in with our lettuce because he planted the clover first and then decided to plant the lettuce. And then here we have green onions. These are onions, I think, and then the green onions start down here. So you can see the green onions here. And again, still the clover. More clover here. And then these are the regular onions. You saw us plant these on a different video. And then these are regular onions. Also, look at, there's a random little piece of lettuce. We had lettuce in this bed last year, I think. And this bed, we didn't have the clover planted in, we just mulched everything with the leaves. So that is what our bed gardens look like right now. We'll see what they look like after this big freeze that we have coming. And let's see, I was going to show you some of the things that I've bloomed, and I was going to show you this. Several of my roses died during the winter this past year because we had a major freeze. Looks like a broken one right here. We had a major freeze during the winter, but this one's been looking really pretty. The rain kind of played havoc with it, but this one is Carefree Beauty, and it makes just a really pretty, really huge blooms on this rose. And this bush was was covered with roses before the rain. You can see all the petals on the ground. So this is the main one that I have blooming right now. This one right here is New Dawn. It's a climber, and it has a few blooms on it, but not near as many as the other one. And then here are some blooms down here on this one. And again, some bare spots where, and I need to get in here and prune all these dead parts out of these roses. I do have some new roses to plant, and hopefully I'll be doing that in the next couple of weeks. And I will show you that. Here's something else that I have blooming right now, and this is Bridal Wreath. And it is looking really pretty. So I'm not really sure how the freeze will affect it, or whether it will or not. But this is really pretty, and these are pretty to cut and use in, arrangements with other things. So let's move on over to the greenhouse. All right, so this is pretty exciting. We have stuff growing in here, and I don't know if you saw my video when we got this greenhouse, but we've only had it set up a couple of months, I think. And the first thing my husband planted was yellow squash. He loves those things, and so he planted some in these buckets, and you can see they have lots of blooms. They have some little tiny squash on them, so some of them should be ready to eat pretty soon. They're covered, so they have really grown well in the greenhouse because it has been too cold for them, especially at night, to be grown out there in the garden. And of course, if they were in the garden, they would freeze tonight, and that would be the end of this. So this is pretty exciting that we have them. We have a couple of tomato plants that are kind of big. This one has a tomato on it, so hopefully that will here's the dog. Those will do good. And then we have all of these tomatoes that are really ready to go in the garden, and probably will go in the garden after this freeze. We always have a freeze, or at least really cold weather before Easter, so we typically don't plant until Good Friday. That's what we both grew up doing with our parents in our gardens, and that's what we do. So these will probably get planted on or around Good Friday. And then these are some tiny little baby tomatoes, and they won't be ready to plant on Good Friday, but hopefully they look like they need to be watered. I'm going to have to come out here and water. They're a little bit dry. And then that's just a bougainvillea plant that I moved in here. Over here we have some peppers. Not a whole lot. The peppers didn't come up real great. And then these are some elderberry cuttings that my husband got out of the woods and planted those. So tonight we'll turn this heat lamp on and close all of the vents and everything to keep it warm in here. Let's see what it is in here right now. It's almost 70 degrees and it's pretty cold outside. I'm not sure how cold it is outside. But that is what we have growing in our greenhouse. I'm going to show you a few more blooms. This rose is Old Blush. It's got a few blooms on it, not a whole lot. Pretty soon these things will be covered. And then this one back here, this is a big climbing rose. And it's got some blooms and tons of buds that are getting ready to come out and bloom on it. And then these are an old plant that was here when we bought our house. And I don't know what y'all call these. We call them forget-me-nots because they close up at night and then they come back out, open back up during the day. And we have a lot of these in our yard. We have some over here. These are not looking real open right now, but I was going to show you. Some of them are white. The white ones aren't open very much. Here's a few over here on this side. So I think the purple ones of these are really popular. You see a lot of them, but you don't see a lot of white ones. And we had white ones here also when we moved here. These used to be scattered all around the yard. So I moved some to this bed and they just multiply and become more and more every year. And most people look at this and think it's just a weed patch. I look at it and think it's flowers. So that's just how it is. But that's one of the things we have blooming. And here's a couple more little random rose blooms on these bushes. And we'll have to come out and film a little more when they're really covered with roses. We have blueberry bushes that are covered with blooms and little tiny blueberry starts, so hopefully we will not lose these with the freeze, but who knows. We usually have a freeze this time of the year, but usually it's just like a really quick freeze. You know, it gets down to freezing, but it doesn't stay there very long. And this, like I said, it's supposed to stay for like 5 hours. So that's a pretty good bit. Look at these. These are all really, they're berries. Like they are growing. We have several blueberry plants, so there's no way we can cover all of those. This one has some berries in it too. So that kind of covers what we have growing, what our garden looks like right now, what we have growing, what we have blooming. So I decided to wait and post my video after the freeze so that I could let y'all know like how everything worked out with that. And so it was pretty good, like nothing in the greenhouse, you know, got hurt. The corn kind of got a little bit I guess freezer burned is what you would call it, but it looks like it's going to be okay. It looks like it's going to recover. If not, we'll just have to replant that. And then the potatoes were good. Putting the leaves over the potatoes ended up being a really good thing. It worked, and they seem like they're going to be perfect. The blueberries are okay. The trees that we had, everything else is good. So the only thing that really suffered from the freeze are the hydrangeas. And we actually did cover them, but it didn't work. I think that we should have probably put some like a heat lamp or something like that, because they look pretty rough. So I'm going to show you what they look like. But I just wanted to be able to let you know that everything else did end up turning out pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this around and show you the hydrangeas. And here they are. And you can see it didn't kill them. Like, they're still green way down there at the bottom. But all of these parts up here that were already, you know, coming out with new growth and all that, it just froze all of that really bad. So, you know, it didn't kill them, but I don't know if this is going to affect how they bloom this year. You know, maybe they won't be as pretty. I'm not really sure. I guess I'll have to wait and see about that. But like I said, everything else turned out good, so we're really happy with that.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate all of you who subscribe and watch my videos. I hope to see you back again next week with another video.